boy was sent out to Nevada to help round up wild horses for a radio circuit. While watching the horses interact, he discovered a predictable language between the horses. This boy's name was Monty Roberts, who is now known as the man who listened to horses. He was one of the first modern-day trainers to use natural horsemanship, which is a philosophy of working with horses based on the horse's natural instincts and methods of communication, with the understanding that horses do not learn to fear pain but from pressure and the release of pressure. Hi, my name is Alyssa, and today I'm going to teach you the Monty Roberts way of starting a natural relationship with your horse. He calls this join up. There are many other trainers today who use natural horsemanship, from Pat Pirelli, Chris Cox, Guy McLean, Clinton Anderson, to Georgia's own Ed Dabney. And I've seen most of these trainers compete in colt starting competitions. And although they teach other types of communication, when they're under time restraints and starting a brand new relationship with a horse, they all use methods very similar to Monty Roberts' join up. And join up refers to the moment your horse decides they'd rather be with you and have you as their leader than be without you. Join ups can be used anytime you want to start a new relationship with a horse or to work on a current one. So if your horse isn't behaving as well as they should on the ground, or isn't listening very well in their saddle, if you do a couple of join ups with them, they should be much more responsive. And it's effective with any horse. It doesn't matter how old and trained they are. But in this relationship, you both need to know who's in charge. This is because with horses, there's never any co-leading. There's always a leader and a follower. So if you don't show your horse that you're in charge, they will assume they are. And that's not how you want it for you or your horse's safety. Horses are mostly visual communicators, meaning they use body language to communicate with each other more than using their voices. So when working with your horse, it's easiest and most effective to do it using their body language. And horses in captivity are much more vocal, but wild horses make very little noise to avoid being found by predators, and that's what makes them a visual communicating species. Before you start a joint, you'll need to get your tools together first. You need to have a halter and the lead rope to lead your horse to and from the round pen before and after a joint. A long line, which is very similar to a lunge line but has a weighted end, making it easier to throw behind your horse. Whips and other tools that can help you look intimidating if they're needed, and a helmet so you can stay safe. You'll also need a round pen to work in. If you don't have a round pen, a small arena will work as well. But the larger the area, the harder you're going to have to work. It's also a good idea to have your trainer with you, especially if it's the first time you've done a joint up with that horse. That way you have someone there to help you if you get stuck or don't know what to do. There's 6 steps to completing a successful join up. Orientation, aggressive body language, turning, signs, inviting it, and follow-up. The first is orientation. You'll take your horse into the center of the round pen attached to the long line. Pet him on the forehead without looking him in the eye, because that would be telling him to go away, and then turn him about 90 degrees. Stop and pet him again. Continue this pattern to get back to the original direction you're facing. Now you want your horse to move off and around the round pen as if you're lunging them. To do this, you're going to need to use aggressive body language. An aggressive body language is eye contact, square shoulders, and forceful marching. You can also swing your and stomp or use a long line so slap it against your body. If you walk towards a horse like this, they're not going to go anywhere. You're coming at it passively and not letting them know what you want. You need to act as a lead horse mat when your horse comes in a herd. Like when you see your horses out in the field with their ears back and their necks out, and the other horse will move away. When your horse starts going around the pen, they can choose the direction they want to go. That way they're more comfortable. If your horse isn't moving as fast as you want, or even not at all, first make sure you use the correct body language. Then you can take the end of the long line, sand, dirt, or anything that will make you look more forceful, and throw it behind them. But some horses will still be resistant to go. These are usually the horses that still really want to be off over you. At this point, you can use your other tools, like a whip with a bag on the end, that can be loud and make noise, or you can take a carrot stick and wave it behind them. Never to hit, just to threaten with. But you never want to use these until you have to. You don't need meaner than you have to be. You want your relationship to be built on respect and trust, not fear. You'll still be dominant, but it won't work as well because you won't have the relationship you want to have with your horse. But they do need to go when they're asked. Once you have your horse going around the pen, try to get them up to your canter. You'll need to continue to move in aggressive march as you go around the pen, but make sure to stay behind your shoulder. If you get in front of them, they'll turn around. This first direction, you'll need to go about a quarter mile, which in your average round pen is about 6 to 7 laps. The reason your horse needs to run this far is because that's your horse's average flight distance. So they'll run about a quarter mile from something scary before stopping to think about it. And if your horse isn't thinking, you can't do a joint up with them. After the first quarter mile, it's time to switch directions. The most effective way to do this is to be on the opposite side of the round pen from your horses and stand in the way looking very aggressive. So when they come around, they will either turn around along the fence line or cut through the center and start going the other way. And this is the only time until the end of the joint your horse is allowed to go back into the center of the round pen, but only while moving very quickly. And some horses will be much more sensitive to one side than the other. And this is because horses' brains work separately on each side, and only about 20% of information will pass between two different sides of the brain. So you'll need to do another quarter mile in this direction, and the whole time you should still be at your aggressive mark. After at least 2 direction changes, you can start to look for signs. And all horses are different, and more often the harder the horse, the more direction changes it will need. But after at least 2, they'll start to communicate different signs to you. The first is their inside ear turning towards you. This is your horse's way of saying, I hear you and I'm listening. At this point, you can let your horse come down to a medium or fast trot. The next 2 signs will happen in either order. They'll either start licking and chewing, or they'll put their heads down. Licking and chewing is your horse's way of saying, I eat grass, I'll be nice. This sign can be kind of hard to see when they're working, but you'll need to watch carefully. And putting their head down is their way of saying, you're in charge and I will listen. And some horses will put their heads way down, while others will only bob it a few inches. So you'll need to watch closely and not miss the signs that they're giving you. Once you get both of these, you can let them come down to a medium or slow trot. The last sign your horse will communicate to you is them coming off the outside end of the round pen, coming closer to you. At this point, your horse will look much more relaxed and probably have their neck arcing in to look at you better. This is your horse's way of saying, I want to be near you and safe. Once you've gotten all 4 signs, you can let your horse come down to a walk. But you'll need to keep your body language slightly aggressive to keep them moving in front of you. And when you're ready, you can invite them in. The most effective way to do this is to go in the same direction your horse is going, go slightly in front of them before turning back towards the center of the round pen. The shake will make will resemble a fish hook. Your horse should start to follow you. When he does, you can stop and wait for him to catch up. But sometimes your horse will get stuck or distracted, especially if you're too far away. What you'll need to do then is start arcing. You'll make a rainbow shape from right in front of one shoulder to the other, and at each end you'll take a few steps away to see if your horse will follow. And if not, continue with a slightly smaller arc than the one before it. If your horse still won't come into you, send them out to your canter for several laps. Ask for the signs again, and invite them in. Once your horse comes in, they should stop right behind your shoulder. When they do, you can stop, turn around, and pet them on the forehead again, but make sure to not be looking them in the eye. Now it's time for a follow-up. It will only take a minute or 2, and we'll reinforce the joint up. You'll make 2 circles, one to the left and one to the right. Your circle size will depend on your horse's size, because you want them to almost pivot on their back end, but not quite. You'll want a medium to fast walk, and their nose should stay right at your shoulder, but remember there's no lead line attached to them. Joints can be hard at first because you're trying to speak a language you don't know very well. Another important thing to remember is to get some horses to fully listen, you'll need to do a couple of joints with them. And there's also a few kinds of horses that joints might not work as well with. One is the horse that is separated from their mother in her birth. They won't have learned the horse language as well as other horses, so they won't fully understand the cues that you're trying to give them. Another is a horse that's been constantly lunged by people not using horse language. They'll become dulled to people using horse language to communicate with them, and will just go around the pen as if they're being lunged because that's what they think they're supposed to be doing. Your jointing can also differ depending on your current relationship with your horse and your horse's personality. So it's important to remember not all joints happen the same way, and you'll need to be prepared. So now that your horse has chosen to be with you rather than away from you, they should be much easier to handle on the ground as well as on their back already. Thank you, and you can be done filming me now.